Hi everybody and welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be reviewing the Nobel bed. It's a design bed which perfectly matches the upholstery parts in fabric and leather with the metal parts. Let's dive in. The Nobel bed is available in two versions. The standard double, which is 172 in width with a 160 mattress, and the king size, which is 192 in width with the 180 mattress. The depth, it has only one depth, the standard, which is 217 total with a mattress of 200s. It is characterized by its high feet. The feet here are 27 centimeters high, and the overall height of the bed perimeter is 33 centimeters. So we have 27 plus 6 of the bed perimeter. The height of the bed perimeter is standard, I would say. Most of beds range between 30 and 33, while the 27 centimeters feet are quite high in comparison to other models. So this gives, and we get into design topic, this gives to the Nobel bed this airy and light look. When discussing the design of the Nobel bed, we can focus on the bed perimeter itself and then on the headboard. Bed perimeter. So we have these peculiar feet which are angled. Of course, they are on the four corners. And the peculiar aspect is that the feet do not attach to the bed perimeter from below, but they actually become the cornerstone, the corner element to which the front and the side attach. This is a nice detail because we have leather or fabric on the front and on the sides with the metal part sprouting out, coming out from the corners. It's interesting. So since we are talking about it, we can quote that the feet are available in brown pearl, which is this finish, which is a mix between brown and gray. It's a matte finish with a tiny, slight metallized effect. Then it is available in the aluminium satin finish, and then in the raw color scale. So with a minor supplement, which as of today is 80 euros, with just 80 euros in end of 2023, we can color all the feet with any color from the RAL scale. And when we combine this feature together with the wide variety of fabrics and leathers, we get to a whopping number of combinations. More about that later. So we have the textile part, which actually, now I will remove it a bit of it. It's attached with a Velcro. This is quite normal. And you see that there's an aluminium structure which connects to the feet. This aluminium structure then is covered with a tiny layer of filling. So when I touch the perimeter, it's reasonably soft. I don't touch directly the metal. And to this layer of synthetic material, the Velcro, in this case the Lord leather with its Velcro, is attached like this. This on all the three sides, the front and the two sides. So as with every bed with a minimal bed perimeter, the slatted frame on which we actually sleep is built in on the structure. In this case, we don't actually see the slatted base because all the leather or fabric pieces are connected by this microfiber, which actually covers the birch slats, the 13 couples, 13 on the left and 13 on the right, which actually support the mattress. I can also tell that it's a microfiber layer, which is it has some filling underneath, so it even gives a slightly additional support to the mattress that we rest upon it. Here we are at the headboard. The headboard is it has a structure made of fir wood. This fir wood panel is then covered with layers of polyurethane in density 25, so it gives a soft but firm support when the user is actually sitting on the mattress, maybe reading a book. And it has a total height of 100, which is, I would say, average, and it's characterized by these curves on the side. You know, there are this curve doesn't have a use, a purpose or a practical purpose. It has a purpose in terms of looks. It simply looks good. There are some beds, if I had made the same bed without these curves, it would be less interesting. If I made it with bigger wings, let's call them wings, bigger wings, sometimes it would be considered as being less practical, for example, when I sit onto the bed or when I get up from the bed. This, I think, is a tiny triangle, this wing, and I think it's a good compromise, in the good sense of the word, between looks and practical aspects. Here we see the back of the headboard. We can see that it's completely finished, and so we can imagine having the Nobel bed in the middle of a room, or sometimes we do things like it could be a fumé or bronze glass on which we rest the headboard, and behind it we can build, for example, a walk-in closet. This could be an idea for your room. Let us know what you think about in the comments if you would like such a setting in your room. It would need to be a big room to do something like this. So we see that it's completely finished. It has two zips here, I would say 1/7 of the width and the 6/7 of the width. These zips are used to actually build the headboard. We must remember that in the fabric or eco-leather, semi-leather versions, the cover is actually removable and thus washable for the fabrics. It is not removable for the leather version. But even with these two zips, I can say that it actually looks good. Here we have a simple stitching on the top, and we have a double stitching on the side of the zips. So we said that we have loads of combinations between the color of the feet. We said we can have them in the raw color scale, and the fabrics and the covers and the leathers. So we have a total of more than 300 options for the feet, and around 2,000 options for the covers. So if I'm doing my math right, it's about 600,000 and something combinations. So what does this mean? Why this such a possibility makes Nobel bed or similar bed which offer the same amount of customization? What makes them great? The fact that when you configure your own Nobel bed, it's only yours. So the sheer number of possibility makes it possible that nobody else has your combination. And I'm not saying about, I'm not talking about the pride. Pride is a sin. So I'm not talking about the pride of saying, I'm the only one to have this combination. I'm talking about the fact that you can actually super customize your choice based on your flooring, based on your wallpaper, based on your bedside tables, based on your wife's taste, whatever. This is the great thing about this sheer number of possibilities. So let's dive in. We can have loads of fabrics and leathers. Let's focus on the Lord leather. We spoke about it in previous videos, but here we see a detail which I like a lot, which is, you see, there are good leathers which are half grain, or maybe they can be polished leathers with a printed grain. The Lord leather is a full grain leather. What this means that it has not been polished, and so it means that the grain that we see is actually fully natural. And if we look in detail, we can see that here the grain is very irregular and quite big, I can say, while on the other side, on the left, when facing the bed, it's more plain, smoother in some sense. This would not happen on a polished leather. This does not happen on semi-leather. It does not even happen on fabrics or of any sort, or microfibers. It does happen on full grain leathers. And of course, it's a matter of taste. This aspect for someone can be totally irrelevant. Me, as a leather lover, I love this variability, the fact that it actually shows that it is a natural product. And also remember, if you don't like leather in terms of its look, in terms of perception, well, forget about leather. If you like the touch and feel and the looks of leather, always remember that right now it is an ecological product, because leather comes from the meat industry. You might be a vegetarian, so you can say, oh, I don't want a leather product. But please remember that when a cow actually is killed, I know it's a bad word, but a cow is killed, it's used for meat, then its leather would be thrown away. It would be burned, and that would not be ecological. While right now the leather industry is based on recovering all the leathers, all the hides that would be thrown away, and through a chemical process, which is right now very much controlled and totally eco-compatible, it has a new life. It gives a new life to something that would be thrown away. So if you don't like it, just don't consider leather, choose fabric, it's a great option. If you do like leather, please remember that it's totally compatible with caring for the world and the ambient. So we come to the end of today's product review about the Nobel bed. I hope you liked it. I hope you also stayed with me with all my mumblings about the environment, or about the unique customization of so many colors. And so see you next time. Bye bye.